Hello, welcome back to Blender Sushi Live. Today I'll be doing something really simple, just improvisations using grease pencil in Blender. So let's get started. So first of all, I want to delete everything. Select all, using A, and then X to delete all. And then Shift A, grease pencil, blank. And we're gonna switch to draw mode. And yeah, we can start drawing from the top view. I will right click and change the radius and the strength to maximum, and I'm just gonna start doodling. So it's based on this idea, like with grease pencil, imagine this is like a black markers, and you can just draw like abstract objects, and then later on you can simply fill each and every corner area that's kind of enclosed. This is more like a kind of like an abstract modern art. I know there's an artist that's kind of like to draw with a thick marker like this, and he painted the whole white area, a white room with his markers, and I think that's kind of interesting. And you can create anything, maybe not too complicated for now. Remember that this is actually grease pencil, so you can actually switch to a new frame and you can start drawing again. Make sure that you actually turn on keyframe, auto keyframing. So if you switch to a new frame and start drawing, this is gonna be a new stroke. Okay, so yeah, something that I often forget is that grease pencil is actually a keyframe for animations. So let's draw something that's more interesting, like maybe this is like an abstract looking human. So I'm working in, this is like 3D, but I'm working in 3D mode. 3D, but I'm working in 2D, sorry. So I've drawn like 3 different strokes, and let's see, I need to be careful as well because this is grease pencil, and if we go to the dope sheet and under grease pencil, we can see the keyframe is here. So we can switch. Let's save this very quickly first. GP random. 3 different keyframe, and we can switch between keyframe using this toggle. Now I want to start filling these shapes with a different material. So by default we have this black thick strokes. I will create a new material, turn off stroke, turn on fill. I will use like a bright color, and for this material I want to fill it. So this is like the stroke layer, our thick strokes, and we can create a fill layer, and we want to fill it on this layer. So I want to separate the stroke and the layer. Okay, I think we are ready. So we have this draw, we have fill. Erase is actually also kind of an interesting tool with grease pencil, because we can erase areas using dissolve or point or stroke. So we can, for example, by default it's set to stroke. We can delete some of the stroke, for example. So I'm deleting that points. I'm erasing that point, and I can delete the stroke like that. Okay, so let's use the fill tool and then put it under fill layer. Just filling the area. So I'm filling. You notice that the fill actually fill the gap, but also it's kind of bleeding a little bit. That's okay because we can put this layer underneath. So this is how it looks before, this is after. We want the stroke layer to be on top. So continue with the fill layer, and yeah, I like to maybe work on the next keyframe. Oops, no more keyframe to jump. Okay, anyway, this kind of abstract and random, and I want to use different color material. So the fill and the stroke layer can also have different keyframe. Keep that in mind and be careful also. So I create a new material slot, select one material, and then just make single user copy and then change the color. So that's the whole process, but I think it's really fun. You can create whatever shapes and then you fill the shapes. I think this is also kind of relaxing. I know, like, Blender is like a 3D software, but oftentimes doing this kind of thing is kind of relaxing and fun. Yeah, so you just fill the gap. Got different keyframe, fill that area. Yeah, I think we can change this. You can also animate this, of course, and you can use all kind of methods, like for example with hue saturations. If you switch to the render mode, you can change the hue. You can have light, and in this mode you can hide everything and change the background color. Right, so let's try one more time. Select the grease pencil object, and we're gonna switch to our, let's turn off these hue saturations, go back to draw mode. We have different keyframe here, and we can start to draw something new. So I'm drawing with the fill, which is wrong. I want to draw using the stroke. Okay, let's draw something that's really abstract. I have a feeling that the stroke should be updating, but it doesn't. Okay, we need to be at the stroke layer. So this is another thing that's really strange with grease pencil. So I was on the fill layer and I was drawing like this, and then I'm getting wrong result. Turn off fill layer for now. Let's see. Fill layer off, back to stroke layer and draw something. Okay, let's I have a feeling like I like to draw like random shapes like this, and I think this is quite natural. So I call it's kind of like 2D, but I'm also thinking in 3D. So you're kind of working around the shapes, and sometimes you can get inside of the shapes, and you know, just drawing all kind of different lines. Maybe it could be like a pipe. It could be like a shape on top of another shapes. If you don't like this shape, you can always erase it. Don't use dissolve, instead using point is better. And sometimes you actually want to go to edit mode and simply select the points. Or you just use draw mode and erase using points. It's cleaner, but you need to be careful because it's erasing other areas as well sometimes. And then just delete the stroke. Okay, some kind of alien looking. So we have the stroke. Back to fill layer. We are in a different frame and we have this material, so we can use the fill tool and start filling this. So yeah, it's pretty arty, pretty modern type of art. Some might like it, some don't, but this is at least, you know, it's relaxing. Some type of graffiti have this kind of look. Yeah, so there's no overlaps. Nice. If you actually want this to be a little bit tidier, I quite like this. It feel like hand drawn. But if you want to make this a little bit, you want to randomize the thickness, or you want to play around with the smoothness, you can do that. Probably I should have done this before I fill the space, but you can see now it's smoother, right? I completely changed the look. For example, this looks like a hand doodles, but if you use like the sculpt and the smoothness and just paint over it, you can see everything smoother. So this is smooth. Sometimes the lines start to open up. Maybe you want that, maybe you don't want it. And also thickness, I don't think we need thickness because I like the same stroke all over, but you might want this. Also give it a try anyway. Different kind of look. Not too bad actually, the sculpt and the thickness randomization. You can hold control and it's become thinner instead of thicker. And randomize the smoothness. Okay, now it's looking pretty cool. And remember, this is grease pencil also, and you can use something like noise, right? It's become animation even though it's static. The one with the randomization of the stroke actually looking kind of nice. There seems to be like some kind of detail and kind of abstractions, and so it's looking pretty unique. If I'm not wrong, if you're happy with this, you can file, export grease pencil as SVG and save it on the desktop. You can file, import SVG, back into Blender. Now here you can see you have a lot of curve object. Select objects, few frame selected. Now it's been exported from the camera projection. Let me try again. So this, you like this, go to the top view, file, export grease pencil as SVG, file, import SVG. Now we have this curve, select objects, increase it like 100, scale it 100 times, or scale it 10 times. Anyway, pretty close. Now we have this strokes. It's not, some of the stroke is not perfectly exactly matching this guy, but at least now this is like 3D object. So you can go to geometry and then option extrude. Something like that. Yeah. I mean, we lost the stroke, but we have the shapes. It's become a different type of creations, but I just want to show you that. So yeah, you can delete some of the parts that we don't need. We actually have double stroke just now. So grease pencil is pretty interesting and unique tools in Blender. I think grease pencil is probably one of the most powerful tools if you are using 2D and doing 3D animations, because it's like a vector. You can zoom in and still it looks super sharp. And there we go, we have this. It's a little bit like kind of like primitive or like ancient kind of art. Alright, so yeah, hopefully you find this interesting and enjoyable. I don't know what I'm doing exactly, but it is like an improvisation. If you ever want to do like a 2D type of artwork in Blender, I'm using Blender 3.0, by the way. This is the experimental alpha version. But from something like this, you can print out and you can use maybe use the block to generate new creations. Just be creative with it. So yeah, that's the whole thing basically. Hopefully you find this useful. Thanks again for tuning in, and I'll see you next time. Thank you. Bye.